The year was 1968. A shadow fell upon the sun-kissed shores of Northern California. It wasn't a literal shadow but something far more sinister, a specter of fear, brought by an unknown assailant who would soon be known as the Zodiac Killer. He was a phantom, a boogeyman who lurked in the everyday, turning ordinary places into scenes of horror. His gruesome acts, often committed in broad daylight, sent shivers down the spines of millions. The Zodiac Killer, as he christened himself, was no ordinary murderer. He craved notoriety, relishing the fear he instilled. His weapon of choice wasn't just the gun or the knife, but fear itself. The Zodiac communicated through a series of cryptic letters and ciphers, each one a chilling jigsaw puzzle daring to be solved. These messages, often sent to local newspapers, were filled with boasts, threats, and bizarre symbols, all designed to taunt the authorities and terrorize the public. The peaceful night air of Vallejo, California, was shattered by the sound of gunshots, a sound that would forever change the lives of those in the community. It was December 20th, 1968, a date that would be etched into the annals of true crime history. Two high school sweethearts, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were parked on a lover's lane, enjoying a quiet moment together when tragedy struck. Approached by an unknown assailant, they were brutally murdered in cold blood, their dreams and futures stolen in an instant. David, shot at point-blank range, lay lifeless beside his car, a tragic end to a young life full of promise. Betty Lou, attempting to flee, was gunned down just a few feet away, her desperate attempt to escape ending in heartbreak. The brutality of the crime shook the community to its core, leaving everyone in a state of shock and disbelief. Whispers of a madman on the loose filled the air, but little did they know this was just the beginning of a reign of terror. The Zodiac Killer had claimed his first victims, marking the start of a series of gruesome murders that would baffle authorities for years. The police, initially baffled, searched for clues, hoping to find any lead that could point them to the perpetrator. The lack of witnesses and a clear motive added to the mystery, making the investigation even more challenging. The killer seemed to have vanished into thin air, leaving behind an eerie silence that haunted the town. But that silence wouldn't last long, as the killer had more sinister plans in store. It was soon to be replaced by something far more sinister: the chilling pronouncements of the Zodiac himself, taunting the police and the public. The killer was ready to play his deadly game, and the world was about to become his unwilling audience, forever changed by his reign of terror. Just days after the brutal murders of Faraday and Jensen, a chilling letter arrived at the Vallejo Times-Herald. The letter was typed on plain paper and began with a chilling declaration: "This is the Zodiac speaking." The letter claimed responsibility for the murders, providing details only the killer could know. But what truly sent chills down the spines of investigators was the inclusion of a cryptogram. This complex cipher, the Zodiac claimed, held the key to his identity. The cryptogram was a puzzle that ignited a media frenzy. Newspapers across the country printed the coded message, challenging readers to crack the code. Amateur sleuths and expert cryptographers alike jumped at the opportunity, eager to unmask the killer. Incredibly, the first cipher was solved, not by seasoned professionals but by a schoolteacher and his wife from Salinas, California. The message, filled with misspellings and grammatical errors, offered a glimpse into the killer's twisted psyche. It read, in part, "I like killing because it is so much fun. It is more sport than hunting wild game." The chilling confession sent shockwaves through the nation, confirming their worst fears. They were dealing with a cold-blooded killer. The Zodiac Killer wasn't just a murderer, he was a cunning adversary, toying with law enforcement and captivating the public with his cryptic messages. The Zodiac's taunting letters and cryptic messages would continue to baffle and terrify the public for years to come, leaving a legacy of fear and mystery that endures to this day. As the investigation continued, the Zodiac's identity remained elusive, and his cryptic messages became a dark puzzle that haunted both the authorities and the public. The Zodiac's letters, filled with taunts and cryptic clues, were a constant reminder of his presence and his twisted game. Each new letter brought fresh terror, as the public and the police tried to decipher the mind of a killer who seemed to revel in the chaos he created. The Zodiac's cryptic messages were more than just puzzles. They were a sinister game that kept everyone on edge, never knowing when or where he might strike next. The chilling confession sent shockwaves through the nation, confirming their worst fears. They were dealing with a cold-blooded killer. The Zodiac Killer wasn't just a murderer, he was a cunning adversary, toying with law enforcement and captivating the public with his cryptic messages. Months passed, and the fear surrounding the Zodiac's name only intensified. The community was gripped by a sense of dread, as the killer seemed to strike without warning, leaving cryptic messages that taunted both the public and the police. Then, on September 27, 1969, the killer struck again, this time at Lake Berryessa. a popular spot for young couples seeking a romantic escape. The tranquility of the lake was shattered by the arrival of the Zodiac. Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell were enjoying a picnic on the shores of the lake when a man approached them, his face hidden behind a bizarre homemade hood. The couple had no idea that their peaceful afternoon was about to turn into a nightmare. Brandishing a handgun, he bound and gagged the couple before launching into a frenzied attack. The horror of the moment was palpable as the Zodiac methodically carried out his brutal plan. He stabbed Cecilia and Brian multiple times, leaving them for dead. The scene was one of chaos and bloodshed, a stark contrast to the serene setting of the lake. The attacker then walked calmly to Brian's car, where he scrawled a chilling message on the door. His nonchalance added to the terror, as it seemed he was in complete control. It included a crossed circle symbol, the date of the attack, and the words, "Buy knife." This signature became a grim hallmark of the Zodiac's reign of terror. Miraculously, Brian survived the attack and was able to provide a description of the assailant. His survival was a rare glimmer of hope in an otherwise dark narrative. His testimony helped police artists create a composite sketch, but the Zodiac's face remained elusive. The sketch, while detailed, did little to narrow down the search for the killer. He had vanished once again, leaving behind another trail of blood and terror. The community was left to grapple with the fear that the Zodiac could strike again at any moment. Section 5. The Paul Stine Murder, a Killer's Brazen Act. On October 11, 1969, the Zodiac Killer committed his most brazen act yet. He hailed a cab driven by Paul Stine in the affluent neighborhood of Presidio Heights, San Francisco. Without warning, the Zodiac shot Stine in the back of the head, execution style. He then calmly wiped down the cab, pocketing Stine's wallet and a piece of his blood-soaked shirt. The murder sent shockwaves through San Francisco. This wasn't a lover's lane or a secluded picnic spot. This was a busy city street, in broad daylight. It seemed nowhere was safe from the Zodiac's reach. The killer, as if to taunt the police, mailed a piece of Stine's blood-soaked shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle. The letter that accompanied it was even more chilling, boasting, "I am the one who did," in the cab driver. The Zodiac's reign of terror had reached a fever pitch. Section 6. Chasing Shadows, the Zodiac's Elusive Trail. The Zodiac Killer's reign of terror sparked one of the largest manhunts in American history. Law enforcement agencies across California worked tirelessly, chasing down every lead, every potential clue. The investigation was a complex web of dead ends and false leads. The Zodiac's cryptic messages, while providing glimpses into his twisted mind, also served to mislead and distract. Despite receiving over 2,500 letters claiming to be from the Zodiac, only a handful were definitively linked to the killer. The rest were the work of copycats, pranksters, and attention seekers, further muddying the waters. The pressure on law enforcement was immense. The public, desperate for answers, grew increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress. The Zodiac, it seemed, was always one step ahead, a phantom disappearing into the fog of speculation and fear. Section 7. The letters stopped silence in the face of terror. As the investigation dragged on, the Zodiac's letters became less frequent. His taunts, once a constant source of dread, slowly faded into silence. The last confirmed letter from the Zodiac arrived in 1974. Addressed to the San Francisco Chronicle, it began with the chilling words, "Me 37 SFPD 0. The letter, filled with the usual bizarre ramblings and coded messages, offered no new clues about the killer's identity. It was a final, defiant act, a ghostly echo of a killer who had seemingly vanished into thin air. The silence was deafening. Had the Zodiac grown tired of his game? Had he died, been imprisoned, or simply moved on? The questions lingered unanswered, a testament to the enduring mystery of the case. Section 8. The mystery endures, the Zodiac Killer's legacy. Decades have passed since the Zodiac Killer terrorized California, but the mystery endures. The unsolved case continues to fascinate and horrify, spawning countless books, documentaries, and armchair detectives. The Zodiac's identity remains a source of endless speculation. Over the years, numerous suspects have emerged, each with their own tantalizing connections to the case. Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester, was a prime suspect for years. He owned a Zodiac watch, wore boots matching those worn by the killer, and even boasted to friends about being the Zodiac. However, DNA evidence failed to link him conclusively to the crimes. Other suspects, ranging from disgruntled ex-employees to disgruntled military veterans, have also been investigated. Yet concrete evidence remains elusive. The Zodiac, it seems, has taken his secrets to the grave. Section 9. Unmasking the monster, will we ever know? The Zodiac Killer's case remains open to this day. Law enforcement agencies, determined to bring closure to the victims' families, continue to pursue any new leads. Advances in DNA technology offer a glimmer of hope. Forensic experts are re-examining evidence, hoping to extract a usable DNA profile that can be compared to national databases. The Zodiac Killer's legacy is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of ordinary life. He remains a symbol of evil, a ghostly specter that continues to haunt the collective memory of California. Will we ever truly unmask the monster who called himself the Zodiac? Perhaps with time and continued dedication, the truth will finally come to light. Until then, the mystery endures, a chilling testament to the enduring power of the unknown.